Texas football is ranked in the top 15. Texas volleyball will compete on new stomping grounds, and the Eastern Conference Finals are soon approaching. All of this and more coming up on College Crossfire.
Back, let's do this.
All right, let me explain why Aaron Judge is getting it. You can boo me all you want, but I want to see the UCF Knights in the playoffs. I want to see them.
The New York Yankees.
Yeah!
We're robbed.
Okay. Take a bow. Take a bow. This is all chaos.
Welcome into College Crossfire. I'm your host, Jaxie Pidgeon, and it looks like tonight's show is going to be a good one. Let's introduce tonight's panel. On first base, we have Adam Ogburn. How are you doing, Adam?
Doing good. Looking forward to diving back into some sports talk.
Excited to have you. On second base, we have Clark Dalton. How are you, Clark?
Pretty good. Excited to be on College Crossfire once again with two really good panelists.
Awesome. And on third base, we have Robert Treviño. How are you doing, Robert?
Doing good. Good to be doing Crossfire from my old home in here. Wish I was seeing you guys up in person, but we're still gonna have a great show today, so let's get it done.
I love to hear it. All right, let's get to it. In their second season straight, Texas football has found a spot in the top 15 of the preseason AP poll. The rankings were released on August 6th, where Texas was ranked number 14. Out of the Big 12 teams, Texas is the second highest ranked, falling behind number 6 ranked Oklahoma. Other Big 12 teams in the top 25 include Oklahoma State and Iowa State. This is the fourth consecutive year that the Longhorns have appeared in the preseason AP poll top 25 under head coach Tom Herman. With a lot of experienced players returning, including 16 starters from last season's roster, along with the return of senior quarterback Sam Ehlinger, a lot of eyeballs have been turned to this 2020 Texas team. So, do you think Texas is rightfully ranked at number 14? Adam, go ahead.
Yeah, I do think they actually got this one right. The Longhorns, they started off last year ranked as number 10, but they had an 8-5 season. They had some disappointing losses to TCU, Iowa State, and then the shellacking at Baylor. But they did come and end the season with a big win over Utah. So I think when you look at the talent they have returning, like Ehlinger, like the loaded running back room now with the addition of Bijan Robinson, and then defensively you've got Joseph Osai, Caden Stearns, B.J. Foster, Keandre Coburn, all back. This team has a lot of talent. I just think that ceiling right now is about number 14 just because of the inconsistencies they've shown the past couple of years when they've been ranked high.
Yeah, I know the returning players definitely will help, but not at the very top. It's true. Clark?
I think this is just right for the Texas Longhorns. Now, I know last season wasn't what they expected, but you have to remember this team started off the season 4-1 before the Oklahoma game, in which they suffered several key injuries. And at the end of the season, particularly in the Alamo Bowl, when we saw them get players like Caden Stearns back, they started to play at the form they had previously where they could dominate teams. And you also saw last year in that game, players like Joseph Osai taking that next step towards becoming elite players. So I think when you combine the experience they gained last year with the desire to prove themselves and show that last year is not an indicator of what this team is, you have a recipe for a very good team.
All right, Texas is due on Clark's note. All right, Robert, what do you think?
Well, this is about as high as you can really expect to be placed if you're Texas. I mean, you started out top 10 last year, then you go 8-5. It's not exactly a good look for the AP poll to put you that high next time around. So I think 14, right underneath conference rivals such as Oklahoma State, of course, beneath Oklahoma. I think the only way they can go up is up. And you look at their schedule, the 10-game schedule that they have coming up this year. If they win all those games, they should just focus on winning those games. They're going to be able to get to that championship game. So I think it really shouldn't be in the minds of the players. And as far as the ranking goes, I think it's more than a fair ranking for Texas.
Yeah, I think everyone's kind of on the same page that Texas is stacked right where they should be. So everyone's going to start out with 2 points for this round. And moving straight along for their season debut, Texas football has made a change of plans. Originally planning to kick off against South Florida at DKR, the Longhorns have updated their schedule to compete at home against the University of Texas at El Paso on September 12th. Texas and UTEP are bringing back competition between schools in the University of Texas system for the first time since 2016. The Longhorns have a 5-0 record in the all-time series with the Miners. There will be a lot of differences this year, such as less fans at games, change of roster, and change of schedule, to name a few, and all of this being under Tom Herman in his first time coaching against UTEP in his 5 years as a collegiate coach. With all that being said, what should Texas's focus be against UTEP? Clark?
Now, Texas is favored by 42 points in this game, so they could easily just come out and, for lack of a better term, fall asleep against the Miners. But I think this game is a lot more important than that because it's an opportunity to shape the brand of Texas once again. What I mean by that is all the great college football teams, there's something you can identify them with. Oklahoma and Clemson, it's the fact that they have great quarterbacks. Ohio State, it's this NFL draft machine every year. LSU is sheer speed, and Alabama is this power run game year after year. But Texas, it's a little bit harder to point out what they are exactly. So I think if you come out and not only win, but you win in dominant fashion and do it with a sense of class, do it with a sense of precision, it's saying to the rest of the nation, hey, look at us, we're here to contend, and you need to watch out when you play this Texas team this year.
Right, and just giving that opportunity to play against UT El Paso gives them an opportunity to prove themselves once again, for the start of the season. Robert, what do you think?
Well, there's so many what ifs in college football because of COVID-19, but I think one of the what ifs that we're going to be seeing this year is, well, what is happening to these guys that are freshmen and sophomores? They aren't going to get those reps that they usually do in the non-conference games because now you don't have the normal 3 non-conference games, that you normally have. You only have the 1. So I think with Tom Herman, the focus is going to be getting the top 22 guys, a starting 11 on each side, getting the special teams ready to go, the guys that are actually going to be playing come crunch time against Oklahoma, come crunch time potentially in the college football playoff bowl. So there's not going to be time to get development for the backup QB, for the backup running backs, backup wide receivers. So, I really think that what we're going to be seeing here, the focus from Tom Herman and what should be the focus is just go out, try to score really as many points as you can. Really don't hold back from UTEP. Try to beat them by that 42 points. Try to cover, as Clark said. So you definitely need to try to cover, beat them as badly as you can, and get your starters ready to go for the conference season.
Yeah, no mercy and narrowing down the roster to just those top players definitely should be a focus of Texas. Adam, what do you think?
Yeah, I definitely agree with Robert and Clark. I think the goal should be to take care of business and send a statement. But one thing that Texas has struggled with the past couple of years is playing down to their level of competition. Remember, they lost to Maryland twice in 2017, 2018. They only beat Tulsa at home by 7 in 2018. In the last 2 years, they've beaten Kansas by a total of 9 combined points. So they've had issues against lower-tier oppositions not sending a statement. And I kind of go off Robert's point, I think they actually need to try and get the backups in the game because they haven't had as many reps. Get guys like Casey Thompson in case if Sam Ellinger were to get banged up during the season. You need to get a look at those backups and get them, 5, 6, 7 minutes of playing time just so that they have something under their belt, whether it be injuries or positive COVID tests. There's a lot more uncertainty heading into this football season, so you need to get that depth taken care of.
Yeah, that's a good point. Just to allow, playing against UTEP gives them that opportunity to put those players out there and see what they're really capable of in a real game experience. So, Adam, you're going to get the points on this one. You'll get 3, and Robert 2, and Clark 2. All right, moving along. This past Friday, Texas volleyball released their 8-week Big 12 only schedule. In the Longhorn season debut, they will be taking on rival Oklahoma in Norman on September 24th and 25th. After their trip to Norman, they will have 4 straight matches at home at the Frank Erwin Center against Kansas and Iowa State in early October. Back in June, the Longhorns were voted the favorite in the Big 12 for the upcoming season for the 10th consecutive year. Although this season and the competition looks a bit different for Texas, what are your thoughts on their new schedule? Robert?
Well, I think we're going to be seeing new schedule, same results, because this Texas women's volleyball team just looks good in general. Doesn't really matter when they play their Big 12 opponents. It's really going to be a matter of, on what date are they going to beat those Big 12 opponents, because I agree with all of the media. The general consensus is that Texas women's volleyball is the best there is in the Big 12 conference. I don't think that a change of schedule, I don't even think a change of the venue, playing in the Frank Erwin Center now as opposed to Gregory Gym, I don't think that's going to matter. I think Texas is the best team in the Big 12, saying that completely unbiased as a Texas student. But I genuinely believe that, and I think it's going to hold true.
All right. Yeah, strength of team and schedule, the comparison doesn't really matter when you're at the top of the rankings. So where you're playing doesn't matter. And honestly, who you're playing, they can dominate their conference. So I like that answer. Adam, go ahead.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Robert there. I think, honestly, though, these conference-only schedules is basically making the best out of it, just kind of with the COVID-19 pandemic. Just if they can get a season in uninterrupted, I think that'll be considered a success. But I think two things that you should note looking at the schedule, because you only play teams either home or away. It's a doubleheader, either home or away. And the Longhorns got both Baylor at the beginning of November and Iowa State at the beginning of October at home, which are two big games, or it'll be four big games, two big doubleheaders, with those teams ranked second and third in the Big 12 preseason poll, respectively. So I thought that was a big win for the Longhorns to get those at home, and I expect them, again, to be very successful in the Big 12 as they look for their ninth title from the last 10 years.
Yeah, that home advantage definitely could help them, especially 4 straight matches. What do you think, Clark?
The Longhorns are definitely the cream of the crop in the Big 12 conference, but this double-header schedule, there is a bit of concern for me, and the reason for that is you play 2 consecutive days in a row, right? And what happened last year with this team is they had some injury problems with Breon Butler and Asia O'Neal, who are 2 key pieces. And that actually cost them at the end of the season against Louisville. Now, in the Big 12, maybe it doesn't play that much into the grand scheme of things, but I do worry with having 2 consecutive games, there's not that opportunity for rest. And it could be a bit of a concern late in the season, but I do think they're going to win the Big 12.
Yeah, injuries do have, that's one thing that's inevitable. You can't really control that. But it is a good point, when you're playing that often, that you don't really have a time to catch up or, make sure you can work out those kinks. So, Clark, you're going to get the points on this one. Moving straight along to another volleyball question. For the 2020 season, Texas volleyball has found some new stomping grounds at the Frank Irwin Center as opposed to Gregory Gymnasium. As a home game for Texas's men's and women's basketball teams, this venue will help those 2 programs and now the volleyball program in providing more space for social distancing for everyone involved. This is the first time ever that the Longhorns will play a full season in the Irwin Center. They have played a few select home game matches in the Irwin Center, but not since 1997. Do you think that playing at the Frank Irwin Center over Gregory Gymnasium will affect this team? Adam, go ahead.
No, it won't. Every team is going to have their home court advantage affected in some way or the other because of the COVID-19 pandemic, whether it be adjustments like this to a different arena or just seating restrictions. I think it's definitely the right move by Texas Athletics. Irwin Center is almost 4 times the capacity of Gregory Gym, so it'll allow people to spread out. And when you have a team that's good, the Longhorns, they'll believe that they can play teams anytime, anywhere, and still beat them. So that should be the mantra for the team heading into the season.
Yeah, just the home court advantage doesn't matter where they're playing again, like you said before, just that they are playing in Austin is all that they really care about, I'm sure. Clark?
This is kind of a weird answer. I think they will be excited to go into Frank Irwin Center just because you have the prospect of the season and it's a bigger environment as well. But there's this quaint charm that's hard to explain about Gregory Gymnasium, especially when it's packed and when Texas starts to get in their rhythm. The fans really add energy to the game. And I think it makes the players feel like it's even a bigger moment than it is and reminds them that it's those big time moments is the reason why you come to Texas. So I think that will be something that's missing from the games. But in the grand scheme of things, I think it won't be that much of a detriment to the Longhorns.
Right. Allows for more people to come. I think, they broke records last year with attendance. So, it'll give them more space to fill. So I like that. Robert?
Yeah, I thought we were gonna be seeing like volleyball highlights in the Frank Irwin Center. We saw basketball highlights. I guess there's maybe like some unforeseen like curse maybe with the Irwin Center. I don't believe in it. I think this building is just fine. It's big. It's perfect for the social distancing era. It was perfect for the social distancing era before there was the social distancing era because nobody ever seemed to go to the games in the first place. And whereas for basketball, that may not be an issue. I'm with Clark on this one. In volleyball, the packed house was a huge part of the game. It played a huge part for the team. So I do think you might see a little bit of a stumble, but I think that stumble is going to be kind of for everybody because playing without fans in general is just going to bring kind of the whole energy all on the floor, a little bit down at least, but I think they're going to pick it back up. I think Texas volleyball is going to be fine.
Robert, you're going to get the points on this one. I really like that you pointed out, just that it does give them that opportunity to, find comfort in it, but also just that they already know how to play with the packed audience. So it'll honestly probably seem a bit less overwhelming to them because it'll be so spaced out. So Robert, you're gonna get 3 points, Clark 1, Adam 1. And when we come back, the panel discusses NBA playoffs and FC Barcelona. You won't wanna miss it.
Washington teams don't win in the playoffs?
LSU.
Wow.
Their schedule.
Michigan coming in number 4.
Oh, so many bad takes. Joe Burrow is just Jake Coker with legs.
No. I've got to make the right predictions this year.
Good pocket protection. Look at that. To cheat. Gotta keep studying Astros film. Gotta be Thomas. Take that, Utah. Never gonna miss a pick again. Come on, man. Gotta make better picks. Gotta make better bets. Gotta make the right take. Bama's coming back. Bama's coming back. Gotta make the right predictions.
Daniel,
What are you doing here so early?
I slept great.
I'm gonna go. I mean, dark horse, right? You can't choose
Dark
the Dodgers.
horse.
You can't choose the Astros. You
Yep.
can't choose the Yankees. Dude, the Natties, man.
The kick in, here it comes. Swing and a miss! Swing and a miss! Swing and a miss! And a World Series Game 7 winning Curly W.
Welcome back to College Crossfire. Let's take a look at the scoreboard. On first base, we have Adam with 7 points, second base, Clark with 8 points, and tied with Clark, Robert with 8 points. So let's get right back in. On Monday, the 2020 Major League Baseball trade deadline passed. Due to a shortened season this year, teams only had 5 weeks to make these game-changing decisions for their rosters. Normally, the trading begins on July 31st. Some teams strengthened their rosters, while others remained stagnant. The San Diego Padres stood out as big buyers this year, while the Arizona Diamondbacks sold off some of their top players. With this being one of the most interesting trade deadlines in recent memory, what surprised you most about the moves that the teams did or did not make? Adam?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Texas Rangers on this one. They did this awkward kind of straddling whether they were going to, try and compete or whether they were going to sell off talent. They traded away Mike Minor to division rivals, the A's. He struggled a little bit this year. He's over 5 with a 5.6 ERA, but he was an all-star last year. And they traded away Trot Frazier and Robinson Treviño to the Mets for a player to be named. So that was a good start. But then they hold on to two of their most prized possessions in Joey Gallo and Lance Lynn. So it's just a really, they could have gotten a lot back for those. They could have started rebuilding, and now they're just kind of in this awkward middle ground since they didn't make any moves.
Yeah, the lack of moves just puts them in an uncomfortable position moving forward, although they do have some of their, key players still, but just they had the opportunity to build and they didn't. Clark, what do you think?
To me, the biggest surprise that we saw over the trade deadline was the blockbuster trade of Mike Clevenger to the Padres from the Indians. Now, I thought the Padres in their rebuild were going to be more gradual, hey, get to the playoffs. But to me, this states that they want to win now with this move. Clevenger has a 3.18 ERA this season, and it was a great move for them to acquire them because it just puts the Padres that much closer to becoming more competitive in the National League.
Yeah, Mike Clevenger definitely stood out as a big one in this trade deadline. Robert, what do you think?
Yeah, the bad thing about going last in these types of questions is that, both of your answers are taken by the guests before you. But that just means I get to agree with my colleagues, and I'm more than happy to do that. I'm going to agree with this time with Adam in that the Texas Rangers trade was definitely the most interesting. It seems as though the Rangers really, like Adam said, didn't know how to play this. They were almost like, should we go for it or should we just completely rebuild? And instead, what happens when you have bad management is you just kind of do both. You don't stick to a single strategy. I think that this says more about the Rangers organization and their future. This kind of, took away some of my belief that maybe the Rangers are going to be okay in the long term. Because, to do these deals is fine if you're going to actually break up the team. If you're going to halfway do it, then it's not as good. So I agree with Adam on this one, but I think the Rangers, this is not just about this year. I think this is about years to come, that they potentially have management issues.
Yeah, and like that shortened period that they had to change the roster was, that probably had some impact on it as well. But again, in that uncomfortable position. So, Adam, you're going to get the points on this one. You're going to get 3, Clark 2, and Robert 2. Moving straight along. Last Tuesday, Lionel Messi shocked the world with wanting to leave his home team, FC Barcelona, after 16 years. Messi has spent his entire professional career at Barcelona, having joined the club at the age of 14. He is one of the most widely known and highly regarded players in the game of soccer. He has helped bring FC Barcelona a lot of wins, including winning La Liga 10 times, the Champions League 4 times, amongst many others. Where will he end up next season? And can Messi leave Barcelona? Clark?
Yeah, this is actually kind of complicated because there's a clause in Messi's contract that said he was allowed to leave, and Barcelona is trying to say that it expired July 10th of 2020, and now there's kind of this little interesting feud between Messi's legal team and Barcelona. But out of respect, I think I think Barcelona should let Messi move on to wherever he wants to go, considering he's done so much for the club over time. And over the last 2 years, Barcelona hasn't been as competitive. They lost 8-2 to Bayern Munich in the UEFA Champions League. They didn't win La Liga, and they haven't won the Champions League in 5 years. I think Messi should go to the Premier League just because it's another soccer league that's elite, and he would fit very well into it, and it would be good for his legacy to go tackle that.
Clark thinks his time is overdue in Barcelona. Robert, what do you think?
Yeah, I think definitely that he's going to force his way out. I don't think that really Barca has an interest in going to court with probably one of their greatest players of all time. I don't think that's a very good look for the organization, regardless of whether you believe their lawyers or similarly others. I think that Lionel Messi is going to force his way out. I'm interested in seeing if the rumors are true that he will join PSG and reunite with Neymar. I'm very excited to see that. I think that would be the best course of action. But I do think that even with the clause, all of that, I do think that Messi would go to court and that he does probably have the case that would win. I don't know how you get – I don't really know the Spanish court system, I guess, is the problem. I don't know how that works. But I don't think they're going to end up going to court. I think Messi's going to be able to leave, and I think that they're going to look for something back. I think hopefully the best move for him is PSG and reuniting with Neymar.
Yeah, that would be a dynamic duo for sure if Neymar and him got to be together.
As well as Mbappe, make it a trio.
That would be a trio for sure. Adam, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with the other two. I think Messi's time in Barcelona is probably up, whether it's through that release clause or whether they come to agreement. I think with 16 years of loyalty and all the accolades he's brought them, I think they will find a way to make this work out for both parties. And I think he's actually going to end up, kind of like Clark said, I think he'd end up in the Premier League with Manchester City. He played under Pep Guardiola at Barcelona from 2008 to 2012. And this is a Man City team that is ready to contend for not only the Premier League title, but the European title as well, which I think is something that Messi's going to be at after, because at 33, he's only got a couple more years where he can play at the top level of Europe. So look for him to maybe try and make a move to Manchester City here in the coming weeks.
Yes, interesting point. The move, it's all up in the air where he's going to end up, but there have been some rumors, talking about where he's confirmed at, but we'll see where he lands. Robert, you're going to get the points on this one. I really think that they're not going to fight with him as well. I mean, he's done his fair job there, I believe. So you're going to get 3 points, Clark 2, Adam 1. Moving right along, things are heating up in the NBA bubble as the conference semifinals are now underway. One series pits the Milwaukee Bucks against the Miami Heat, and in the other series, the Boston Celtics are facing the defending champions, Toronto Raptors. Which two teams do you think will face off in the Eastern Conference Finals? Robert?
Well, my initial instinct here is to kind of see how Game 3 is going. But I think that the Milwaukee Bucks actually have been proven. I think, they're going to come back in this one. I'll remind you they were down, or excuse me, that's Toronto I'm thinking of. But I believe in the Milwaukee Bucks. I think they're going to come back. I think that Jimmy Butler, however, has definitely solidified his decision to go to Miami. I think that was a great decision. But I think Milwaukee going to come back on this one just because I believe in Giannis. I think that they have the right pieces going along. I think that they have a lot of support with guys like George Hill. And on the other side, I'm very interested if we look at the defending champions, somebody who you would expect to make a deep run, even with the loss of Kawhi Leonard this time. I think they're done for. I think Boston has proven that it can make it to the finals under a player like Jason Tatum. He had 34 in game 2. I think he went 8 for 17, perfect from the line, 14 for 14. I do have the stats pulled up here. This is not memorized. But still, that does not erase my point that Jason Tatum is that caliber of player to lead the Celtics to the finals potentially. So I think that the Celtics for sure you'll see in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Robert with a big pull for the Celtics. Adam, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with Robert on the Celtics part. I think Jason Tatum, and then you've got Kemba Walker who's come in now. He's a great point guard to lead the team. I think those with that 2-0 lead, I think they'll be able to hold on against the Raptors. But going over to the Heat and Bucks series, I actually have the Heat in that one, but I think it is going to be a long, drawn-out series. I think this game is going to go at least 6 and maybe even 7 games based on the night. You saw both teams. It's probably going to be a slugfest the rest of the way. But Jimmy Butler, he had 40 points in game 1. He only had 13 tonight, and guys like Goran Dragic, guys like Duncan Robinson, Tyler Herro stepped up. And with Bam Adebayo's defense and rebounding skills, I think the Heat have what it takes up 2-0 to find 2 more wins in the next 5 games and get their way into a good Eastern Conference final matchup against the Celtics.
Adam switching it up with the Heat. Clark, what do you think?
Bye-bye, Bucks. Bye-bye, Raptors. It's going to be the Celtics and the Heat in the Eastern Conference Finals. And both of these teams are interesting because they share one commonality, and that is depth. And that is so important in the playoffs. Yes, Giannis is great, but Chris Middleton to this point has not shown this extra gear he can kick it into in the playoffs. Even when Jimmy Butler doesn't score 25 points for the Heat, they have other players they can call upon. Bam Adebayo, Duncan Robinson, Tyler Herro, Goran Dragic even can still step up and get you buckets late in the game. And the Celtics are the exact same way. Yeah, Jason Tatum is great, but he has Jaylen Brown helping him. Marcus Smart is a very experienced player. Kemba Walker is clutch, and you have a great head coach in Brad Stevens who just puts it all together. One star is not enough. We've seen this throughout NBA history. Look at LeBron in Cleveland. It's kind of a similar situation with the Bucks. And then the Raptors, yes, they have great depth, but they're definitely missing Kawhi. They don't have that guy you can call upon who can take the shot in the final seconds.
Clark says, bye-bye, Bucks. All right. Yeah, Clark, you're going to get the points on this one. You're going to get 3, Robert 1, Adam 2. And when we come back, it's rapid fire here on College Crossfire. You won't want to miss it.
They're going to bring in Matthew McConaughey to coach. How do you think he's going to motivate this team?
Texas football finishes the regular season on top. Texas volleyball secures their spot in the tournament, and Texas basketball is off to an impressive start.
Every year, Texas and OU fans are split down the middle at the Cotton Bowl here in Dallas. But this year, the game wasn't as even.
Signature basketball question of this network. Is Shock on the hot seat? Of course she's on the hot seat.
The freshman Skylar Fields, who stepped up and posted 9 kills and 3 blocks, making it seem as though she is a veteran player.
All this and more coming up on College Press Box.
You're watching a live sports presentation of Texas Student Television.
It's a lovely evening in Austin. Texas Longhorns, Texas A&M Aggies.
This is a rivalry game, high intensity, high scoring.
Puck drop, we're off.
Both of these teams are very fast.
Big collision on the wall there. Now a little advantage for Texas. Shot in the middle.
Welcome back to College Crossfire. It's time for rapid fire in this round. And that means that points are worth double and that it's anybody's game. Before we jump in, let's remind everyone of the score. On first base, we have Adam with 13, Clark on second base with 15, and Robert on third with 14. All right. This past weekend, Texas high school football began for teams that compete in UIL Divisions 1A all the way up to 4A. As stadiums admitted fans, schools were supposed to adhere to UIL guidelines mandating the stadium's capacity be limited to 50%, as guidelines mandating the stadium's capacity, as well as fans wearing masks at all times. Some schools adhered, while others did not. A video posted to Twitter by the Lampasas High School principal showed a crowded stadium, and the video has since been taken down after many people made note of the lack of social distancing and mask-wearing policies. As the UIL has made these mandates clear, the ball is in the school's court to adhere to these rules, or else they will face potential consequences. So, What should the repercussions be for schools not adhering to social distancing guidelines? Anyone can jump in.
Lunch with the school principal. Don't do anything serious with the kids, but give them something that's like a really unclear punishment. Because in high school, let's be honest, you don't want to have an awkward Chick-fil-A lunch with the school principal. I don't think any kid would want to do that, and they would start wearing the mask and social distancing properly. That's the only thing I can think of.
Chick-fil-A with a principal sounds kind of fun to me.
Oh, no.
Anyone can jump in.
All right. I will hop in on this one. Usually these, I'm like, oh, here's a really fun answer. But for this one, if the schools are not adhering to social distancing guidelines, they should not be playing high school football, period. I mean, the fact that they're even having these games is a little ridiculous to me, but I get it. Economically, you need to have some of these games for some of these teams. Playing football, playing high school football is not only religion, not only huge, but it's huge for their local economies. So I understand that. But if you're not going to be adhering to social distancing guidelines, which is just stay 6 feet away from me, then I'm sorry to get a little serious, but I don't think they should be playing high school football.
Yeah, I mean, it's set there. Everyone's, doing the same thing. So it's not like they're exempt from the policies. It's high school football, not even college. So I like that, Robert. Adam?
Yeah, keeping with Robert kind of on the serious note, I think I wouldn't punish the players. These kids look forward to playing football. This is what they've worked for 3 or 4 years, especially for the seniors. I think that the route to go would be take fans away from the game, go without fans, like we've seen in professional sports. Just because if you can't get a student section to keep their mask on, if you can't get them to stay spread apart, then just keep the fans out and let the players keep playing for what they've worked for so long.
Yes, that's a fair point. Robert, you're going to get the points on this one, so double points. So you get 6 points, Clark 4, and Adam 4. Next, rapid fire. While Texas high school footballs are welcoming crowds, professional sports have had to adapt to a lack of fans filling their stadiums. The NBA and the NHL have decided to pump in artificial crowd noise in order to keep the atmosphere lively. While Texas plans to allow some fans into football games this fall, DKR's stadium capacity will be limited. So in order to replicate or even improve the way the game sounds, what crowd noise would you dub into the stadium? Anyone can jump in.
Can I say what I don't want pumped into the stadium? That Don't Stop Believin' song. I'm sorry to come out against it, but it was a cool one-time thing against Iowa State. All right, believe me, I was there. It was electric. Everyone with their phones out. It was awesome. Okay, it was once-in-a-lifetime moment. College football for the University of Texas at Austin. It was incredible. But now it has been overdone to death. Playing Don't Stop Believin'. My producer, Justin, in the chat telling me boo. No, you're wrong about this one, Justin. I don't think they should have Don't Stop Believin'. But to answer the question, I think what we need to be pumping in is just the classic crowd chants. Maybe even get some NBA stuff in there. When you're coming down the floor and it's like, dun, 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 dun. Those songs, I want those played.
You want to mix with other sports? I
do. I think we need to have a little more diversity in music in terms of what we're playing.
Yeah, not stick to the status quo.
Maybe get some progressive rock in there.
All right.
Man, we got Robert down here hating on Don't Stop Believin'. I think that's definitely a staple you got to keep for the primetime games. But I think looking at some other options, I think Texas Fight, that chant is definitely something that you got to pump in, especially during breaks in the game. And then Matthew McConaughey's chest beating song, I think that's definitely that tune has got to get pumped in, get people fired up. But yeah, just keep the crowd noise in. Stick to football, though. We don't need basketball or hockey crowd noise. So keep the football crowd noise coming in.
Football only. What do you think, Clark?
Definitely some Wolf of Wall Street involved, but you have to put Texas Fight as a crowd noise in that stadium just because it's so important to those players who come to Texas. Because when you hear that chant, Texas Fight, it's so iconic. And I still get a little tingle up my spine every time I hear it. So I think that it would be sad if we didn't get to hear that this season in some form, and it belongs in DKR.
All right. Well, I think that Robert is going to get the points on this one because he wants to integrate other sports into one. I don't feel like, sports should be, this is only basketball and that's it. So Robert, you're going to get 6 points, Clark 4, Adam 4. Heading into the last question. For the 2020 football season, Texas has followed in other leagues' shoes by doing a form of virtual fans. Due to limited capacity in the stadium, Texas Athletics is allowing fans to submit a photo for a cardboard cutout that will be seen in the stands at DKR. They mentioned that the photo on the cutout can be of you, a family member, or a pet showing their Longhorn pride. What would your ideal cardboard cutout look like? Draw what you would put on a cardboard cutout at DKR.
It's not working.
Wow. I'm not a drawer. Do you have to guess what it is, like dictionary, or no? Can I tell you?
I feel like rather than me guessing, if it's that bad, you should probably just explain it. I think you have talent, though. I think you're doubting yourself.
No, I'm not. I'm not doubting myself.
All right. Who wants to go first? Be confident. Let's go.
All right. I was the one doing all the talking, so I'll go first. Let's see if I can get this in the right light. Probably won't be able to. Here it is. I got a normal one, but you can't see because of the color. So the reason it just looks like a smiley face, and I'm going to take it off right there. The reason it just looks like a smiley face is because it's just going to be like the normal yellow smiley. You ever seen Forrest Gump? The yellow shirt, puts the mud on, has like the yellow smiley. It's just going to be that on a cardboard cutout. So that's what I put on mine.
Interesting take. Not an actual human, just a smiley face.
Mm-hmm. That's the difference.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with Robert going on the non-human part. I'm going to go with let's see if we can get this. There we go. We're going to go with a Bevo cardboard cutout. Keep that 6 foot 6 foot in the minds of fans. See that Bevo's horns keeping those cardboard cutouts properly social distance. So keep the school spirit, keep the social distancing going.
I love it. Adhering to social distancing and Bevo. I love Bevo. That's my favorite person. Sorry, biased. I love Bevo. Clark, go ahead.
Oh, this is so it's a little stick figure. It's just a hook'em sign. It's pretty basic. I have my excuse me. I have my number 83 jersey on, and I have a smile on my face because I was like being at DKR. So,
all right. Well, Adam's going to get the points on that one just because it was overall the best quality and the best meaning. So, Adam, you're going to get 6 points, Clark 4, and Robert 4. And that gives Robert the win. So, congratulations, Robert. That being said, it's time for FaceTime. Robert, take it away.
Thank you. I'm so excited to get a FaceTime in my apartment. Want to send a shout out first to my parents, to my sister, and then I'm sending a shout out to my roommates who are watching right now in the living room. Nick and Zhao, thank you for supporting me. Thanks for cheering me on in between the commercial breaks. So thank you very much for the support. It's nice to be back. TSTV Sports, we're going to have a great semester. Be sure to watch all of our shows. Let me plug it for everybody. So 1-0 Sports, everything coming back. College Press Box, we had a great episode. So I'm very excited to be back. Let's do it, team.
Let's do it. Congrats again, Robert. And thank you for tuning in for the show tonight. Don't forget to follow us at TSTV Sports on Twitter and Instagram. If you are interested in joining Texas Student Television, be sure to attend our general meeting a week from tonight on September 9th at 6:30 p.m. on Zoom. From all the panelists, I'm Jaxie Pidgeon. Have a wonderful night.